Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 647, 647, December the 30th, 2018, Sunday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Well, more bad news for Macron. It appears that three groups actually, of environmentalists are threatening to sue Macron for eliminating the carbon taxes after the Yellow Vest protest engulfed the country in chaos, and Macron was forced to capitulate. It appears that Greenpeace and two other organizations are behind the lawsuit that was initiated on December the 18th, and they're claiming that France is not doing enough to combat climate change. They have given Macron 2 months to reverse his position or the lawsuit will go forward. Oh man. Just another case of the leftists eating themselves. So this really puts Macron in a tough situation because he really can't flip-flop again. I mean, what's he going to do? Flip-flop and go back to the very tax plan that brought the Yellow Vest out on the streets in the first place? And by the way, they haven't gone away. They have more grievances. And I just don't know where Macron turns at this point. I mean, I don't see any daylight for Macron. I mean, he's about, what, 20% in the opinion polls. He has no real solutions to any of the problems that they have in France because his loyalties are not to the country of France. His loyalties are to the globalist agenda and to the UN and the EU. And the problem, on the economic side, the problem is he simply cannot tax these people anymore. And it's alarming, actually, to watch these groups. I mean, I guess the most puzzling thing to me is I look at the Yellow Vest protest and I look at the man-on-the-street interviews that they do with these people in these protests. They're actually many of them are calling for more socialism. I mean, it's funny because here in the West, for the most part, if you're on the right or what have you, center-right, you look at this and say, well, obviously these people are upset. They're tired of socialism. They're tired of the EU. They're tired of all these things. Obviously, these are people who must be on the right or to the right of Macron, and they're realizing that their socialist experiment is failing. Not only is it driving business people out of the country, because eventually, if you're a French business person, you simply cannot succeed. You cannot have any success with the tax rates and all the other regulations and all the pressures you get from the labor unions and the whole nine yards. Why would you put up with it as a business person in France? You would just move to Belgium or move somewhere else. But when you watch these people who are being interviewed man on the street, a lot of them are literally to the left of Macron. They are mad because he isn't going far enough to the left. They don't want to be taxed. No. They do want more taxes. Don't get me wrong. They want more taxes, but not on them. Because they all believe that there's someone else that they should tax. And that would be the rich. The problem is there simply aren't enough rich people to tax to make up for the amount of money that you need to take in to support their massive social welfare system and the benefits that you get in France as a citizen. It's unsustainable. That's the problem. They've been running this plan for decades, and now they're running toward the end. They're running out of people to tax. And I don't see any solutions. There's no coalition of people really that far to the right of Macron who have any voice. I mean, even Marine Le Pen. I just watched a video of Marine Le Pen. Yeah, she gets it right on the immigration and gets it right on several things, but she's believes in taxing the rich as much as possible. She's actually, one of her plans is to tax the rich more. She's a socialist, an economic socialist, as much as he is. So it doesn't look good to me for France. And I'll tell you, coming up in 2019. It's going to get worse. And that has to do with another story I'll be talking about in a minute, which is the fact that we're probably looking at hard Brexit. And that is going to hurt the EU. And we have France is practically in recession. Their growth is less than 1%. I don't think they've had more than 1% growth in a couple of years. Germany is even now slipping towards recession. I mean, there literally are no countries that you can look at in Europe that are actually having good, strong economic growth like we have here in the U.S. It's just not happening anywhere. And it's only going to get worse when the EU loses the UK. And of course, because it's a hard Brexit, that means that they will not have been successful at working out a smooth transition whereby the EU and the UK could continue their trade, which they really need in the EU. The EU needs the UK more than the UK needs them. I mean, once the UK leaves the European Union, they're free to trade with anyone they want. And I find it very difficult to believe that the EU, once the UK leaves, that the EU is going to say, okay, now you can't trade with anyone within the Eurozone. I just can't imagine that with all the trade that the UK does with EU countries, and the fact that this would be devastating to the EU at a time when they really cannot take a hit like that. So there's a lot of things in play here, a lot of things moving, a lot of moving parts, and I see no way out for Macron. So he certainly is not going to be able to go back and reverse this flip-flop again on this tax. So he's probably going to end up, they're going to go ahead with this lawsuit, and he'll find himself battling, taking it from the left. And we can see this all over, not just in France, but other places in the EU, but most especially here in the US, where the left, again, this is another example where the left is eating themselves. We'll just keep watching because it just gets more and more interesting every day. And Macron, he has no solutions for the problems. It's only going to get worse. It's going to be a very, very entertaining year, but it's going to be a very tumultuous year. All over the planet, really. Okay, it appears that the Women's March organizers, this would be the pink pussy hat wearing group that wears the little pink, what they call the pink pussy hats. It appears that this Women's March that they were going to have has been canceled. This was to have happened out in California, and it appears that they canceled the rally due to the fact that the people who they see are participating were overwhelmingly white. They canceled the Women's March because the participants now at this point appear to be overwhelmingly white. So they're going to send out they've canceled it, and now they're going to send out a new press release letting potential participants know that white women need not apply. They have plenty of them. They're looking for women of color at this point. I don't think men are allowed anymore. Even the men who, like James Comey, put on his pink pussy hat with his wife and daughters, so he could attend the pink pussy hat rally here in the States. This is another example of the left is eating themselves. And we'll have more evidence of that as we move forward. So this was supposed to be the third scheduled protest for the Pink Pussy Hats to go outside and scream at the sky and call for, of course, abortion on demand and more social justice. But now, of course, it's been canceled. They're going to try to reschedule it. But they have a major national protest that's supposed to take place on January the 19th in Washington. They expect to get millions of people there in Washington for that Pink Pussy Hat event. But, if white males are not needed, or they don't want the white males, and now they don't even want white females to be part of the Pink Pussy Hat group. I mean, we know that white males need not apply to the Democratic Party anymore. Now it's white females. I mean, it's one thing to give up the white male, which is a pretty big part of both parties' base, but now you say white females are no longer needed as well. This is a suicide. This is a suicide mission for the extreme left and the Pink Pussy Hats. I just don't know what these people are thinking. They're just out of their minds at this point. But we'll keep watching again, because this is really going to become front and center in the spotlight, is going to be cast on this division that we see. It's been there for a long time. It just hasn't been pointed out by too many other people. But this division is really going to show itself in 2019, because you've got the Democrats trying to, in their primary, trying to choose someone to run against Trump in 2020. So all these things are going to be aired out. And at some point, these people have to take sides. I mean, if you're a white male Democrat, where do you go? If you're now a white female Democrat, where do you go? I mean, it doesn't appear that they're going to tolerate any type of a male getting the Democrat nomination. Certainly not a white male. And now it appears that even a white female may not be acceptable to the Democrats. This is all going to work itself to a head as we move forward. It's going to be hilarious for those of us on the right to watch. And like I said, this is going to be a very, very entertaining year indeed. We still have, of course, Trump tweeting about Mueller deleting the 19,000 text messages from Strzok and Page's phones. So, yeah, Trump is not, he never backs down from the fight, and he's never stopped tweeting about these things, about Uncle Bob, the witch hunt, and remember, just 2-3 weeks ago, he retweeted that pic of all the perps behind bars. So, again, this is why a lot of people are convinced that Trump has a plan to put these people away. A lot of people believe there's going to be military tribunals and these types of things. I don't know if I believe all that, but certainly you get the feeling he has some sort of a plan. I think his number one plan is to move his agenda forward, but certainly as we approach 2020, I think timing has a lot to do with a lot of things, and getting the right people in place, I do believe. But with as much as he tweets about this stuff, he obviously doesn't want this stuff to go away. He wants to keep this going. He wants to make sure we don't forget about Spygate, that we don't forget about Uncle Bob's witch hunt, and all these things. So clearly he wants to keep this stuff on the burner, and there must be a reason for that, don't you think? One of Iran's ayatollahs, it appears that this one was Mahmoud Hashemi, has died at age 70. Now, this apparently happened this past Monday, but I guess we're just now learning about it. And of course, once word got out that this ayatollah had died, at that point, this brought many Iranians out into the streets, and they are literally out there celebrating and are jubilant at the news and cheering at the news that this Ayatollah Hashemi has passed away. And so I guess that's a good sign that they've not been shot down in the streets like dogs for doing so, because normally, cheering in the streets the death of an Ayatollah would generally be a death sentence. So we'll keep watching as that situation will continue to exacerbate itself into some sort of a conclusion at some point, you have to think. Well, many of you read the letter by Goodlatte and Gowdy that was sent to specifically Matt Whitaker, but also Rodenstein and the president, I know, received a copy, probably others as well. And if you read the letter, now H.A. Goodman literally read the entire thing on a YouTube video. I'm not going to do that, but because you can go read it. It's everywhere. You can read the letter that Goodlatte and Gowdy sent to Whitaker, where the overall general take on the letter is that they are pointing out that the investigations of Clinton and Trump were conducted in a completely different way, all the bias, and then of course all the things that went on at the FBI DOJ with the proof of bias, the questionable tactics that they used to infiltrate the Trump campaign, the dossier, and how the dossier was used to get FISA warrants and various other things, the abuse of the FISA court. All these things are explained in the letter to Whitaker. And of course, they're asking for Whitaker to appoint a special counsel. Now, of course, they both had asked Sessions to appoint a special counsel. as did Nunes and members of the Freedom Caucus. So there's been many people call for a special counsel to investigate all this. Of course, Sessions did nothing, unless you believe in some alternative theory that, you know, he was working behind the scenes. He may still be working behind the scenes. Huber's got some thousands of indictments. If you believe all that, that's fine. But it doesn't appear that that's the case. So, anyhow, they're asking Matt Whitaker to appoint a special counsel. So, that's pretty interesting. We know this past week he was cleared by the Ethics Committee and the DOJ to go ahead and oversee the Mueller witch hunt, hopefully to its conclusion. So he has that on his plate. But I just get the feeling from watching Whitaker, he's been around now for what, about a month and a half or so, 2 months. I just get the feeling that he feels like he's just a placeholder. He's not, you know, we haven't really seen him. He hasn't come out and made any statements really, or had any press conferences. He hasn't commented on anything about the ongoing investigations. He's given no indication he's going to appoint a special counsel. He's really done nothing other than just be like a placeholder. I think more than anything, Trump just wanted to fire Sessions, really. And Whitaker obviously had made statements that would suggest he would be supportive of Trump's cause, or at least was sympathetic to it anyway. And of course, he'd been around for a while and had been collecting evidence, or being what John Kelly said was the eyes and the ears for Trump in the White House. So, you know, I think he's brought in, and I think he had a role. But I'm getting the feeling that Trump didn't bring him in so that his role could be to be the guy to appoint the special counsel. I think maybe Trump is counting on Barr to be that guy. But it's hard to say. I mean, it's just speculation. I don't know that Barr is going to do anything. But we could be surprised. Maybe we'll see Whitaker do something. But, you know, immediately as soon as Whitaker was named as the acting AG, within hours, literally, they had launched ethics investigation against him. And they started going after him. So I think that he came under such swift attack so quickly that he's probably thinking, man, oh man, you know, these people are just, you know, they're all over me, and I haven't even done anything. So he's probably been somewhat intimidated. He knows if he appoints a special counsel, he'll face incredible scrutiny and all this, and maybe he's not the guy to do it. I don't know. But anyway, we'll see if he does anything. I don't expect he will. Again, I think he looks more like a placeholder, someone just to kind of be there until Trump gets his AG, which would be Barr, and they are suggesting he should be sworn in probably in the next 6 to 8 weeks. So that's another 6 to 8 weeks of Whitaker. You know, maybe he'll do something, but if I were a betting man, I would bet that Whitaker is not going to appoint a special counsel. I hope he surprises me, and I hope I'm wrong. I think more than anything else, he might apply a little heat to Mueller and suggest to Mueller, hey, now I'm running this investigation. You know, this is about Trump, Russia. You know, you need to wrap it up or something. I think he might try to get Mueller to wrap up his investigation. Because, again, I think ultimately, as we've talked about before, I think Trump feels like, and he's probably correct, that you need to have the Mueller probe ended before you can begin another investigation into what really happened. You have to let Mueller get everything he's got out and get him on record and get everything he's got on record. And that would help ensnare him as well. And maybe that's the point. So you can read the letter if you haven't read it. It's, you know, it's like everything else we've been hearing for the past year and a half that was directed at Sessions. Now it's just being directed at Whitaker. We'll see what he does, if anything. Well, it looks like Pelosi has named Douglas Letter, Letter, as the chief legal counsel for the House of Representatives. His mission will be to structure the legal pathway to impeach Trump. He's a former DOJ guy, a hardcore anti-Trumper. He had pretty much been retired, but he's come back out of retirement, and he is going to be the hitman for Pelosi in the House, who's going to try to put together the legal pathway to impeach Trump. Just another huge mistake that the Democrats, political mistake, the Democrats will be making. But I don't think they have any choice. I don't think Pelosi has any choice because so many Democrats ran on impeaching Trump. So they know it's not going anywhere, but maybe they just have to put on a good show. Maybe they feel that'll be enough to fool their supporters. And they're probably right. We're not talking about brilliant people here. We know, of course, that Jerry Nadler, who will be heading the Judiciary Committee, already has 17 subpoenas ready, most of them targeting Trump's finances. But also, we understand that there are some of these subpoenas that are angled toward Ivanka and John Jr., or Trump Jr. So they're wanting to get to Trump. Nadler wants to get to Trump by applying the pressure to Ivanka and Trump Jr. Now, there's been a couple people in the comments section. I think for sure Douglas, I think maybe Patty, other people have suggested exactly what's in the back of my mind, which is, Trump is being told by the DOJ and by Rodenstein that he really can't declassify all this stuff because it would damage the Mueller investigation. And I think Trump's tolerating that, just waiting till that Mueller probe is ended. But if the Democrats come after Ivanka and Don Jr., they might just push Trump to the point where they just push him to the edge where he says, the hell with it. I'm just going to let the chips fall where they may. I'm going to expose everything right now and declassify. He may have a time frame for what he's going to do, but if the Nadler and the judicial Democrats on the Judicial Committee, if they go after, it's one thing to go after Trump. He's got a lot of lawyers and a lot of money. He can just let them fight the stuff. Probably won't go anywhere anyway, but he can probably play that game and stay on his time frame. But if they start going after Ivanka and Trump Jr., that just might motivate Trump to speed up his time frame a bit and drop the hammer. I mean, he's got the evidence. He's got the evidence to blow Nadler and Pelosi and all the Democrats in the House, to blow them completely out of the water. He's got hard evidence of a real serious crimes against the most high-powered Democrats in the country. And he can let it rip at any time. It seems to me that going after his kids might force his hand. So we will see how Trump handles that. But something tells me he's not going to like it when they come after Ivanka and Trump Jr. Maybe that will force his hand. Maybe he'll act quicker than he thought he wanted to. We'll see. And we also, remember, Whitaker is going to be watching this as well. If Whitaker sees that they're now going to expand the witch hunt to Ivanka and Trump, that may motivate Whitaker to appoint a special counsel. And keep in mind, Whitaker's now the AG, acting AG. So a lot of these documents, a lot of the things that they want to do in the House can be shut down by the Attorney General, Whitaker, acting Attorney General, just the same way that Rodenstein shut down the Republicans when they tried to get to the bottom of their crimes that they were investigating. So the same thing can be done in reverse. And of course, we don't know where Mr. Barr stands, but once he comes in, obviously, this is probably not something he would support, a witch hunt against Trump's kids, and he may blow the whistle on it. So, man, there's a lot of balls in play here, and it's really hard to say where all this is going to go. But, it's an awfully ballsy move, for Nadler and Pelosi and the Democrats in the House to push Trump when they have to know, the evidence he has. They must feel pretty good about the control they have in the media and the control they have within the DOJ and the FBI and everywhere else. They must feel that they can withstand the assault that he can bring on them. And we'll find out. We will certainly find out. Because I'm pretty sure Trump's not going to let it go. We also have, of course, this most recent repeated charge again by McClatchy about they've got some evidence, they claim, where Cohen, there was a signal from Cohen's phone that was in Prague, trying to again make this connection that Michael Cohen was in Prague. And he again has denied it. His lawyer again has denied it. If that was true, Mueller certainly would have found that out, and Cohen wouldn't be pleading guilty to these other crimes. He would have been tied in deep to the. That would be major bombshell if Mueller could have proven that Cohen really was in Prague or had meetings with officials in Prague about these deals he was supposedly cutting to make payments or what have you. If Mueller had that information, he would certainly have used it by now, which he has not. So I think you can be about 99.999% sure that this is, again, just replaying this old hoax over again. And, of course, we're talking about McClatchy. Then we have another question we have to ask ourselves when the Democrats take over here in about 4 days. Do you realize that Mad Maxine Waters is going to be the head of the House Financial Services Committee? Think about that. Mad Max is going to be head of the House Financial Services Committee. That's scary. That committee has the ability to pass certain regulations, and I assume they have to be okayed through the other house, through the Senate, and probably the president has to sign on to them. But just the things that they could propose out of that committee with Mad Max in charge could certainly, rattle the financial markets. So you got to wonder, and with all her gaffes and with all the things she said, you have to wonder, is she fit to serve in that position? Because Pelosi is the one who gave her that position. She is going to head the House Financial Services Committee, and it's a little bit frightening, to be honest with you. Now, there is some good news about appointments on committees, and that is that Devin Nunes will, of course, remain. He won't be because they lost control of the House, he won't be the head of the House Intelligence Committee, but he'll be the ranking Republican on the House Intelligence Committee, which means he has certain things he can do to throw a wrench into the spokes of Adam Schiff, and you can bet he will do so. So we also have Jim Jordan has been elevated to becoming the head, or the ranking member for the Republicans on the Oversight Committee. So now Jordan has actually gotten a promotion there. He's now going to be head of the Oversight Committee for the Republicans, which is good because if we win back the House in 2020, then Jordan would de facto become the head of the Oversight Committee, then, not just the ranking Republican. And that would be very good. That would be very good. And keep in mind, Paul Ryan is not around anymore to block Jordan. And Trump is going to be having a golden opportunity here. I don't know if the shutdown will still be going on when the State of the Union comes around, but it won't be long here. In just about 6 or 7 weeks or so, we'll be getting the State of the Union. The State of the Union. And so that is a golden opportunity because just about everybody watches the State of the Union. It's a nationally public, actually, I'm sure you see it around the world, not just here in the United States, but it's prime time. It's the president for hour and a half speech, speaking directly to the people, to the Congress, to the court, to the world. And it's the big stage with the big megaphone. And if the border wall issue is still going on, the shutdown is still going on, Trump's going to have the massive bully pulpit, and he could have a golden opportunity to really have a major impact on public opinion, not just here in the U.S., but remember, this immigration issue is an issue around the world, not just here in the United States. It's big in Europe, and you can bet that there'll be a lot of European leaders and a lot of Europeans watching Trump. And this will be you can bet that this is going to be a major portion of the State of the Union speech he's going to give. He will spend a considerable amount of time and energy making his case for a border wall and for immigration policy in general to be changed. And this is going to have a carryover effect into Europe. And it's really because it is it's an international, it's a worldwide event when the president does the State of the Union, especially Trump, and at a time when there's so many different balls in the air, and at a time when immigration is at the forefront of the major issues in our country and in countries all over Europe and around the world, not even in the southern hemisphere, in South America, Central America. So immigration right now is a major issue around the planet. And Donald Trump is going to have the big stage with the big spotlight, with the big megaphone, and a lot of people will be listening to what he has to say, and you can bet he's going to make a strong argument, and it could drastically shift the direction things go from that point forward. And so if the shutdown is still in play at that point, I suspect he will use the State of the Union to really advance the ball, because maybe for a lot of people, will be the first time that they really get to see the president face to face, looking directly at them, making his case. And I think it's going to resonate with a lot of people, because there'll be more and more and more violent felonies committed by illegals between now and then, and he will have one hell of a list, and some of those people will be in the audience, and he will have them stand, and he will point them out, and Democrats will be sitting there they can't leave the room. I mean, they're stuck. They got to sit there and watch Trump point out victim after victim after victim, or family members of victims, and it's going to be hard for a lot of Democrats to have to sit through that. They are going to be sweating and twitching and squirming in their seats, but Trump is going to make them squirm as much as he can. It's going to be a hallmark moment in his presidency, and it's going to really, I think, change the momentum from where we are now moving toward 2020. It's going to be a real momentum changer, and you can bet he's going to have a lot to say in the State of the Union. Definitely something to watch. And as I said earlier, it looks like the Brexit deal, it's going to be it appears to be, at this point, it's going to be a no deal sort of Brexit. It's going to be a hard Brexit. And, I really don't understand why the EU is playing it the way they are. I mean, I see the EU losing here on two fronts in a huge way. This could contribute greatly to the increased momentum for the unwinding of the European Union, the entire project. Because, as I said earlier, a hard Brexit means that they will not have negotiated terms whereby the UK can leave the European Union, but they can still do trade and still have business and commerce with the EU. A hard Brexit means there's going to be a lot of problems and how they're going to continue to trade or do business or have commerce with the EU. And the EU is hurting right now. They cannot really afford to lose the economic benefits that they get from dealing with the UK, business with the UK. To let the UK walk away and for the EU to say, okay, well, you can't trade within the Eurozone anymore. I mean, that would be devastating to the EU at a time when they really can't handle it. So I don't know what their plans are. Maybe behind the scenes they are talking and trying to work this out, or maybe they'll get there. They don't have much time, because it's my understanding that there'll be one more vote sometime at the end of January, and that'll be it. The general consensus is that it's not going to pass, and that means hard Brexit. But also, what happens 2, 3, 4 years down the road? Because yes, hard Brexit means that there'll be a lot of chaos and a lot of confusion and a lot of maybe some down markets. The pound will probably fall like a rock. There'll be a lot of problems for the first year, maybe a little longer than that. But eventually, the UK will get that sorted out, and they will get back on their 2 feet, and they will start creating their own trade deals and getting themselves together. But you look down the road 2, 3 years, if the UK, and I believe this will happen, the UK leaves on a hard Brexit, and then, yeah, they go through chaos for about a year and a half, but then they get it turned around, and things start looking better for them. They get their sovereignty back, they cut their own trade deals, their economy starts growing again, and they start doing really well. At the same time, nearly every country in the EU is in recession. This is bad long term for the EU, because eventually all these countries will say, look, the UK left the EU, and look how they're doing. They're doing great. And that will make a lot of other countries who want to get out of the EU look at the UK and say, we want out too. We can do what the UK did. And that will be true in some cases, not all. Jerry Brown. Last week he was taking Democrats to task, telling them again that they're going too far left to be relative anymore. He said it again. And he said it again in another speech just yesterday. He said, they're talking about white guys. They don't want white guys in the party anymore. And Jerry Brown says, hey, what's wrong with white guys? white guys are going to be running the Democratic Party. They're going to be part of the Democratic Party for quite some time. And he warned them again. He said, I'm warning you. He said, the Democratic Party is becoming too, this is his words, not mine. The Democrats are becoming too radical for voters.